Hey everybody, and welcome back to Gooey's Dungeon Dive, the mini podcast where I rank every dungeon in the Legend of Zelda series. And today it's episode 5. We're talking about level 5, the Lizard, which is kind of the same idea as the snake, but we'll go with it. That's pretty cool. We got again another dungeon, our second dungeon here in the game that has a special entrance other than just finding it in the overworld, which is pretty cool. So, in the last dungeon, we got the old man hint that told us to walk into the waterfall. And if you walk into a specific waterfall in this game, it's kind of a conspicuous one. You get another hint about how to find the dungeon in the Lost Hills, I think they're called. The old woman tells you to keep going up, up, up. So you just have to keep going up, up, up on the screen. Even though you appear to be coming back to the same screen, eventually you will find level 5. So kind of cool. It strings between dungeons, you get the hint in level 4, you find something in the overworld, go to level 5. I think that's some of the first connective tissue, other than I guess you find the item in 3 and go to 4, but it's pretty cool. So this one is, I think, a major jump in difficulty compared to any of the other ones so far. This is where you're really going to want to have all of the upgrades to progress, all the hearts you can get. I'd get the next upgrade of the sword. I'd have all the bombs you're able to bring in and health, especially if the first time, because this is a big jump in difficulty. One minor way it is, it's not the big way, but the minor way it is this is the first dungeon where you have these underground passages that connect one part of the map to the other. So it's not as simple as you just look at the map and be like, oh, I generally have to head this way. You actually have to remember, if I go over to this part of the map, it'll take me to this other side of the map and gives you that stuff to explore. So it's a little bit more complicated. And I think that's cool. That's great. That sort of thing is, that's like an establishment part of Zelda, is kind of having to keep the mental map in your head of where you need to go and how the dungeon geography connects and everything. So shout out to that. I believe this is also the first dungeon that requires bombing a wall. All the dungeons so far have had a lot of ways to skip keys or go certain ways, shortcuts, using bombs. Of this one, you have to, no matter what, bomb a wall, I believe. at least if you go to this specific room where it's one of those one-way doors where you go through it and then you're in a room filled with enemies and the door's shut and you kill them all and the door still doesn't open, but one of the enemies drops a bomb. So it kind of encourages you, I think, to use them. Now, if you don't figure it out and you're stuck in there and you use up all your bombs or something, then you're in trouble. But I think that is a cool puzzle for this point in the Zelda series. So kind of inventive, and it also becomes a. This is an establishment cornerstone, I think, for the series. So another way the dungeon steps up in difficulty, I think, is with the enemies. Now, we'll start with some of the easier ones they add to this one. We've got the Pole's Voice, who become kind of a classic Zelda enemy, and they take a lot of hits with the sword, I'm pretty sure, but this is where I really start busting out the bow to kill them. It's one hit. There's an old man hint in this dungeon, actually, that says secret power is hidden in the arrow, which I think it's just telling you to use your bow and arrow. Why not? Not bad, but I mean, this is a good time to start messing with it. So they're not so bad if you do that, but a lot of enemies in this. There's a lot of enemies in the game. I feel like if you just try to take them sword on, you'll be in trouble, but there's a special way of killing them, which is kind of cool. We've also got Gibdos, another classic Zelda enemy, a little bit of a mummy here. They're not so bad. One thing I like about them is you can, certain ones, it's similar to the Stalfos where you can like see the item they're carrying around. Kind of fun. But really, where the dungeon steps up in difficulty is the blue Dark Nut. You definitely want to get the upgraded sword if you can to take these guys on, because they are tough customers. One way it's especially difficult is, and I think this might be a bad choice, is there's a room with a bunch of them in them, and you could actually just avoid them and go to the next area. But then right after that, the next spot you need to go to get the key item requires you to fight them. So it's like 2 rooms filled with them in a row. And I feel like it's kind of close. Like, I feel like they should have, spread them out a little bit more or something, but definitely a great step up in difficulty there. They used to cause me a lot of trouble for sure. Here's another dungeon where we have another mini boss. This time we have 3 Dodongos in one room, not just one. You can actually get a bomb upgrade from an old man in here that will help you with them. So it's not too bad, but it does take a lot to beat them. I think even with the upgrade, you kind of want to look out. You don't have to go in this room, actually. People might not know that at the time, though. But then also, you can, leave, it's pretty easy to, leave the room, get some bombs, come back if you want to kill them. I don't know. Thought it was pretty cool there, but yeah, they're kind of a nuisance. We've also got, of course, another old man hint. It's again tied to the boss. He tells us that, the boss Digdogger doesn't like certain sounds, and that brings us to, again, another dungeon boss that kind of requires the key item to beat, so we're seeing that a little bit more. In this case, you get the flute, the magic flute or recorder or whatever it is, and this is a pretty neat item. It's not that useful in the game. It's got a weird warping system, but again, just seeing an instrument this early, it's kind of become a staple of the series, so I kind of like it. But anyway, you play it for Digdogger, which is, I don't even know, just this weird giant eye. I guess that's another establishing thing in Zelda, is the eye bosses. But then Digdogger will split up into a bunch of little tiny eyes, like 3 of them, and you gotta fight them then. That's how you beat them, is kind of expose the weakness. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's the first boss that has a second phase, I guess. I mean, I guess Gliok sort of had one. When you kill one of the heads, it flies around. But, I mean, the first phase, you can't really do anything but just use the item in the room, so that's not exciting. But, the second phase can be, it can be a little tricky, but it's not too bad, especially if you know the trick where you can just place a bomb right by Digdogger, play the flute, and when it splits up into the little eyeballs, the bomb will just kill them all right away. Overall, it's okay. It's pretty decent. So let's take this to the list. And, here's our list here. It's looking pretty good. I'm definitely thinking this is in the upper echelon of dungeons. It's got a lot of firsts, like I mentioned. It does feel a little bit, I don't know, it feels a little bit unwieldy at times, compared to I feel like some of the top 2 or 3 are a bit tighter, but I think some of the firsts it has really edge a lot of them out just for being so new and unique. I think it's pretty cool. I would say it's at least better than the Eagle, which was a very solid, tight dungeon, great opener, establishes a lot of things, but this really, takes it forward. But I'm going to say not better than the Snake, which I think overall has had, I don't know, that one just feels like a really solid dungeon. I think it holds up pretty well despite, some of the, modern advancement in Zelda dungeons. So now we have a top 5 here. Counting down, we got at number 5, we've got level 2, the Moon. At number 4, we've got the Manji. Number 3, we've got the Eagle, the first dungeon in the game. Number 2, we got the Lizard, and at number 1, we got the Snake, which I think so far has been the all-around tightest dungeon in the game. A lot of cool ideas there. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Things are getting difficult, and I think they're gonna keep going that way. So join me next time for level 6. And of course, if you like the video, give it a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and thanks for watching.